the other squad leaders protesting that a search is impossible in such a short time. But Blake just smiles, saying they can easily find them using his detection barrier technique. When the others look confused, he explains it is a barrier that detects targets within a certain area, transforming his magic into particles that can map the shape and movement of anything they touch. This technique can apparently detect anything with a physical form, not just living creatures. Of course, the arrogant leaders immediately call him a liar, insisting barrier magic cannot do that. So Blake just closes his eyes for a moment to give them a little demonstration, before casually describing how one of the guys behind him is yawning while the other is drinking water. They completely lose it, accusing him of cheating, but Lancelot has clearly seen enough. He officially assigns Blake's squad the mission of finding the monster lair and rescuing the hostages. This other leaders are still complaining, but Lancelot figures it is better to give the rookies a long shot than nothing at all. With the decision made, he gives the order to move out and the squads get ready for the night operation. Soon enough, Blake and his trio are trekking through the dark forest on their own. This red-haired kid is totally pumped, thinking Captain Lancelot is making a seriously bold move. But the girls are more realistic, guessing the captain probably expects them to fail anyway. Blake just confirms he can find the monsters, though the range is limited so they will have to keep moving. His students are once again in awe, with the silver-haired girl admitting she is not even surprised by his op skills anymore. They all just marvel at how amazing their teacher and his barrier techniques truly are. And the silver-haired girl realizes that being with Blake makes her heart race with excitement. Back in the village, the ambush is set and everyone's waiting for the monsters to show up. A few of the squad members are passed out in the wagons, completely unaware of the danger, while others are resting inside the village houses, including Lancelot, who is pretending to sleep but is actually wide awake. Suddenly, a lizardman creeps into his room, thinking it has found an easy target. And it is not alone, as a whole squad of them surrounds the bed, ready to finish him off. They all lunge at once, going for the kill, but Lancelot just casually blasts one of them right through the window with a flick of his wrist. He's not even breaking a sweat, thinking these low-level lizardmen are seriously underestimating him. Outside, the rest of the squad springs the trap and explosions light up the night. His men are having a field day, mocking the monsters as they easily wipe them out. Just as they are getting cocky, they freeze in terror at something new approaching, because a whole squad of level 4 orcs just crashed the party and they look way tougher. One of them raises a massive club ready to smash the mages into paste, and brings it down on one of the guys who was just bragging about how easy this was. Both of them are completely overwhelmed, totally helpless on the ground as the orcs close in. But before they can land the final blow, a massive fireball incinerates the lead orc, revealing Captain Lancelot, who just saved their butts without even trying. He looks around, a little confused, wondering where the rest of the monsters are. His subordinates are just thankful to be alive when one of them points to something in the distance. And what they are pointing at is a massive level 6 orc lord which has the whole squad shaking. One of the guys immediately starts freaking out, knowing a monster of that level is way out of their league. But Lancelot is completely unfazed, telling his men not to worry because he has got this. He casually deflects a projectile before charging up a massive fire and wind spell of his own, looking absolutely determined as he prepares to unleash it on the entire monster army. This resulting attack is a ridiculous beam of pure magical energy, which completely engulfs the Orc Lord and every single one of its minions, before erupting into a colossal explosion that lights up the whole forest. When the smoke finally clears, there is absolutely nothing left but a smoldering crater. Lancelot lands without a single hair out of place, like it was just another Tuesday. His men are going absolutely wild, cheering for their captain like he just won the championship. Lancelot, however, realizes something's off. These monsters were too organized for a simple orc lord. He suddenly looks up, sensing a new, much more dangerous presence has arrived. Meanwhile, Blake's squad has successfully located the monster's lair inside a dark cave, and they find all the missing village women tied up and terrified. This silver-haired girl immediately starts comforting the hostages, telling them they are safe now. But Blake's eyes narrow as he senses the real threat is somewhere else entirely. He tells his students to handle the rescue and just bolts, leaving them totally confused. Back outside, Lancelot is confronted by a mysterious voice asking him what is wrong, as a new, even bigger monster named Barbarossa appears, taunting him for being powerless. Lancelot's men are panicking over the monster's insane level, as Barbarossa taunts him, bringing down a massive axe with crushing force. Lancelot realizes he is low on mana and only has one big spell left. His men are still shouting their support, completely unaware he is in trouble. With his reputation on the line, Lancelot declares he is invincible and meets the attack head-on, unleashing his final spell in a desperate clash of power, creating a massive explosion that rocks the entire area. And his men can only scream his name in terror, thinking he has been defeated. As Barbarossa stands over the fallen captain, ready to finish him off, but just as the axe is about to land, it is blocked by a sudden barrier, leaving the monster completely stunned. He cannot believe his attack was just stopped cold, because Blake just showed up, casually saying he made it in time. His barrier is effortlessly holding back the monster's full power swing, saving the captain, which has Lancelot's men completely losing their minds, wondering what is going on. And Blake just turns to the injured Lancelot, casually offering to heal him. His hands begin to glow with a gentle blue light. this healing energy surrounding Lancelot, who looks on in disbelief, wondering if this is holy magic since he thought Blake was just a barrier specialist. But Blake explains this is also a barrier technique, one that stimulates the body's regeneration. Barbarossa is absolutely livid that they are just chatting while he is standing right there. So he brings his axe down again, trying to shatter the barrier with pure rage. Lancelot asks Blake if they can actually win this, and Blake confirms it is possible with high-level magic. But the captain admits he needs time to charge his spell and an opening to land it. Blake immediately volunteers to create that opening, though Lancelot worries just defending will make the monster suspicious. But our boy just smirks, saying he is not going to defend, he is going to fight. This has Lancelot completely baffled, wondering how you can possibly attack with defensive magic. Blake just puts his hands together, gathering a massive amount of blue energy, before channeling it all down into his leg, getting into a low stance. He looks like a sprinter at the starting line, ready to absolutely launch himself forward, and with a burst of power, he explodes off the ground in a swirl of magic. This guy moves so fast he is just a blue streak heading straight for the monster. Forming a pointed barrier around himself like a human battering ram, Barbarossa cannot even believe what he is seeing, looking totally caught off guard, as Blake slams directly into his chest with the full force of his barrier charge. This impact sends the giant monster stumbling back, roaring from the hit, which has Lancelot's men freaking out that he actually knocked the beast down. Barbarossa gets back up, absolutely furious and calling Blake a cocky little ant. Raising his axe for another devastating swing as Blake prepares a counter and unleashes a massive barrier blade, meeting the monster's attack head-on. Blake gives Lancelot the signal he was waiting for, and the captain immediately starts charging up his ultimate spell. His men are going wild, recognizing this as his signature high-level magic, which he unleashes in a massive beam right at the monster. Barbarossa gets completely engulfed by the attack, looking totally stunned. As the vortex of pure energy tears through the battlefield, when the dust settles, the monster is on its knees and looking seriously messed up, which has Lancelot's squad celebrating like they have already won the whole war. But the captain is completely drained, barely able to stay on his feet, and he starts to collapse from total mana exhaustion. Before he can hit the ground, Blake catches him, holding up the exhausted captain who just gave it his all. Our boy even gives him a compliment, saying that was some amazing magic, and Lancelot actually returns the praise, admitting Blake was impressive too. Meanwhile, the squad is still cheering for their invincible captain, until one of them starts accusing Blake of just trying to steal the glory. Lancelot immediately shuts him down, admitting he would have lost without Blake's help. Blake just plays it cool, saying maybe the captain could have handled it alone, which seems to catch Lancelot completely off guard. But our boy explains that even the great Captain Lancelot is human and is not perfect. Blake explains that comrades should support each other since even the strongest are still human, which sets the guy off, who grabs Blake's collar and accuses him of mocking the captain. But our boy just calmly grabs his wrist, completely unfazed by the aggression, telling him he knows what it is like to fight alone and how much better it is with allies. Lancelot overhears all this, looking pretty shocked to hear someone say he is not perfect. This subordinate just yanks his hand away, clearly not wanting to hear any more of it, and just storms off in a huff, leaving his buddy behind to deal with the awkwardness. Lancelot gives Blake a final look before his own student, the red-haired guy, shows up. Sometime later, Blake's squad waves goodbye to the rescued villagers, their mission finally complete. And everyone is safely reunited, with the village chief even apologizing for his part in it. He and the other men bow deeply to the students, showing their gratitude and remorse. But even though the battle is over, the mystery of the monster Barbarossa still looms large, which is the last thing on the redhead's mind as he celebrates being back home. His teammates, however, are completely wiped out from the whole ordeal. Just as they are about to part ways, Blake asks the red-haired student for a moment, leading him to what looks like a local tavern for a chat. Turns out Blake invited him for a meal, and the student seems genuinely happy about it, admitting it is the first time anyone's ever invited him out like this. This student replies, "Same here," which totally confuses Blake for a second, because it is also the first time he has ever been the one to invite someone. Blake just smiles, realizing they are both first-timers when it comes to making friends, and the red-haired student agrees, finding some unexpected common ground. Since they are off duty, he tells Blake to drop the formalities and use his name, so the student proposes they make a toast to their newfound understanding. Blake raises his mug, toasting to two of a kind, but the student corrects him, saying it is a toast to two imperfect people. And with that, they clink their mugs together in a moment of genuine camaraderie. This two of them actually seem to be having a great time just chatting over drinks, which is a pretty big turnaround from the guy wanting to fight Blake earlier. He even cracks a genuine, heartfelt smile, looking completely at ease. This next day, we are back in the main city, things looking peaceful for once. Blake stretches out, enjoying a rare and well-deserved day off. Deciding to take a walk around town since he has not had much time to relax, and reflects on all the crazy stuff that has happened since he got here. He remembers that he owes his entire second chance at life to the hero, Alice. And just as he is thinking about her, a mysterious person in a blue cloak walks by. Blake decides right then and there that he needs to find her and thank her properly, when suddenly that same cloaked person bumps right into him out of nowhere. She immediately starts apologizing, looking super flustered by the whole thing, and as Blake asks if she is okay, he gets a good look and realizes exactly who it is. Before she can react, Blake grabs her arm and pulls her away from the main street, telling her to follow him. Turns out a couple of knights are looking for her, but they have lost the trail. So Blake quickly ducks them both into a nearby alley to hide. Once the coast is clear, the cloaked girl lets out a sigh of relief, apologizing for getting him involved with her persistent pursuers. But Blake just smiles, confirming that he knew it was her all along. As she pulls down her hood to reveal she is none other than the hero Alice, she gives him a cheerful wave, saying she has heard all about his recent accomplishments, though Blake is way more concerned about why the hero is being chased by knights. Alice gets this hilariously proud look on her face and declares that she is running away from work. Apparently, being the hero involves endless meetings and a mountain of paperwork, which Blake thinks sounds tough, but she insists it is so much worse. She is having a complete meltdown over the murderous workload, so she just decided to ditch her duties and make a run for it. Our boy just looks at her, thinking she seriously needs a change of pace, and gets her attention by calling out her name. He then asks if she wants to hang out, which seems to catch her off guard, explaining that he really wants to thank her properly for giving him this new life. Alice is totally caught off guard by his offer, blushing like crazy, before she gets super excited and immediately agrees to hang out. So Blake finds himself being led to a beautiful, secluded spot just outside the city, which Alice reveals is her secret favorite place to get away from it all. He feels a little bad for intruding, but she just winks and says he is special. Then she reaches into her bag for something she prepared earlier, pulling out a couple of lunchboxes with a huge, proud smile. She presents him with a seriously impressive-looking sandwich that she made herself, and the two of them sit down to enjoy a picnic together. Blake points out she brought two, which makes her super flustered as she tells him to just eat. Not needing to be told twice, our boy digs right in, and he is completely blown away by how delicious it is. He tells her she is a great cook, and she admits that for a hero, she is surprisingly domestic. Blake just reassures her that he does not think it is weird at all, which seems to make her comfortable enough to open up a bit, starting to tell him about her life before she became the hero. Turns out she was just a normal girl living in a rundown village, with no special powers to speak of, just a knack for housework. But one day, she received a divine revelation from the goddess Astrea. And from that moment on, she was chosen to become the hero. She explains that after the revelation, she had to go through some seriously intense training, pushing herself to the absolute limit to become strong enough for her new role. Alice had never even held a sword before, so the training was brutal on her hands, and Blake just listens intently, taking in her entire backstory. But she proudly declares that she was a natural, getting strong super fast because she actually enjoyed it, adding with a huge grin that she must just have a talent for it. Our boy agrees that you'd have to be gifted to reach her level of strength, though she admits the journey was still incredibly hard with very few companions to rely on. Despite all that, she pushed through and eventually managed to defeat the Demon King, which makes her happy because now everyone can live in peace. Still, she cannot escape the fact that she is still the hero, which seems to weigh on her. And that is when Blake suddenly gets to his feet, catching her by surprise. He turns away, saying he is just an old barrier mage who has been left behind by the times, leaving Alice totally confused by his sudden self-deprecating turn. But he tells her that even someone like him has his own beliefs and a purpose, realizing in that moment that he wants to protect Alice. He explains that just like he protected humanity with his barrier, he now wants to protect her, which makes her tear up, asking why he'd say that when she is the strongest human alive. Our boy just tells her that her title as the hero does not matter to him at all, because to him she is simply a kind, hardworking, and wonderful person. Alice is completely floored by his words, admitting he is saying some really nice things, but she quickly puts on a brave face, thanking him and insisting she is okay now. Blake just looks at her, seeming to understand the pressure she is constantly under. Back in the city, they decide to part ways for the day, with Alice thanking him for everything. He waves her off, saying he is looking forward to hanging out again soon, but as she leaves, his expression hardens as he spots something down the street. It is that arrogant blonde noble from before, cornering some guys in an alley with a seriously dark aura. This dude is radiating pure murderous intent, looking like he is about to completely snap. We then cut to him in a fancy office, looking absolutely stunned by some bad news. An older official informs him that he is being transferred to the remote Mabel region, which, as the text helpfully points out, is a massive demotion. He immediately loses it, grabbing the official and demanding to know what he is thinking. This guy calmly lists off his many crimes, from abusing his authority to causing trouble in the training unit. He has clearly had enough, telling the kid he has reached his limit covering for his messes. Blondie tries to pull rank, screaming that he is a high-ranking noble and a powerful mage, but the official just slaps his hand away, declaring that he is cutting all ties. This sends the kid into a rage, accusing the man of betraying him after all he has been given. This official just calls him a fool, admitting that siding with him was a huge mistake. With that, he turns his back, telling him to go start his life over in the borderlands. This noble desperately reaches out as the doors close, his cushy life officially over. This blonde noble absolutely loses his mind over being cut off, and starts throwing a full-blown tantrum right there in the hallway, forcing him to take a walk of shame past all the other nobles, who are all whispering about how he totally deserved this demotion. He cannot take the mockery and just screams at everyone to shut up, unleashing a massive fire spell right in the middle of the crowded hall. We then cut to him being kicked out of the military barracks for good. A different official points right at him and declares that he is fired. which sends the nobles spiraling, trying to pull the high-ranking card again. But this guy is having none of it, telling him he is lucky he is not being thrown in jail. Leaving him on his knees in the street with all his stuff thrown out. And just to add insult to injury, they slam the gates shut right in his face, leaving him to stew in his public humiliation as everyone just walks by. But instead of reflecting, his anger starts to fester into something else entirely. As he gets this deranged look, convinced that the hero Alice would appreciate him. Turns out he has been obsessed with her since the moment he first saw her. And apparently his entire career goal was just to get close to her. He genuinely believed she'd fall for his charms, which is just hilarious, because he then remembers seeing her happily running off somewhere, only to find her with Blake, immediately deciding our boy is the source of all his problems. This dude is completely unhinged, blaming Blake for every single one of his problems. So he throws on a cloak and starts frantically searching the city for Alice, pushing his way through crowds and getting more desperate by the second. After a while, he is looking pretty worn out from his obsessive hunt, until he finally spots her laughing and talking with Blake from around a corner. His whole demeanor changes into this creepy, possessive grin at the sight of her. But that smile immediately vanishes when he registers who she is with. And just like that, his entire world comes crashing down around him. While Blake just has this calm, friendly smile on his face, completely unaware that he is being stalked by a psycho from the shadows. This noble just cannot process why she'd choose some old mage over him, imagining a world where he is the one standing there talking to her instead. His mind completely shatters into pieces from the jealousy, flashing to a full-blown delusion of him and Alice at their wedding. Back in reality, our boy and Alice are just casually waving goodbye for the day, which sends the noble into a murderous rage, his mind just screaming for Blake's end. A twisted smile forms as he decides on his new plan: take out Blake and claim Alice, ranting that she was always meant to be his from the very beginning. This scene then cuts away to a bright sunny day somewhere else, where we see a trio of mages in uniform being ordered to line up for duty. A massive assembly of mages is gathered in a grand hall, all standing at attention for a big announcement. Among them is a group of trainees, totally overwhelmed by the sheer number of mages present. Their commander announces the mission is to guard Vips in the city for the upcoming Demon King subjugation ceremony, and another official steps up ready to announce the specific assignments for each unit. He starts reading from a list, first announcing the unit assigned to the main gate. While the trainees speculate they will get a simple post like the castle gate since they are just rookies after all. Then the announcer moves on to the next assignment, the escort detail for Lady Hero and her party, which our orange-haired trainee assumes will be some other elite unit, resigning himself to boring patrol duty. But after that, the official just wraps things up, saying that is the end of the list, leaving the orange-haired kid totally confused, wondering if he missed something important. Suddenly, the entire hall of mages turns to stare directly at his small group of friends. And they start to panic, having absolutely no idea why they are the center of attention. This white-haired girl is the first to put it together, her expression darkening as she realizes the truth. Her friends are still completely lost, not understanding what she means at all, until she spells it out for them. They are the ones assigned to escort the hero's party. This realization hits the whole group like a truck, and they collectively lose their minds. All around them, the other mages start whispering, clearly shocked by the assignment too, with a couple of them voicing their disbelief, saying there has to be some kind of mistake. But the commander cuts in, revealing it was a direct recommendation from both himself and Lady Hero. He explains their performance during the recent monster attack was impressive enough to earn the spot. This trainee's leader recalls Blake's impressive record, including defeating a lord and earning the hero's trust. And his friends agree that Blake was definitely strong enough to fight alongside their captain. With the assignment settled, their commander declares the decision is final, and the entire assembly of mages roars in agreement. Later, the trainee squad makes their way through the palace, completely overwhelmed by the situation. They arrive at a ridiculously fancy door, realizing it is the entrance to the hero's personal room. Our orange-haired friend is so nervous he feels like he is about to lose his lunch. But the girls in his squad tell him to pull himself together. He immediately calls them out though, pointing out their own legs are shaking like crazy, which leaves them totally speechless and flustered. Taking a deep breath, the squad leader decides they just have to go in and face the music. And as the doors swing open, they are greeted by Alice and Etta, who have been waiting for them. These trainees are completely starstruck, finally meeting the legendary hero and her companion in person. And the girls are just blown away by how gorgeous they are, thinking they look like actual goddesses. Their leader steps up to formally greet them while the rest of his team is still losing their minds behind him. Alice gives them a huge smile, praising them for their excellent work during the monster attack. But then Etta chimes in with a wink, adding, as expected of Blake. This throws the squad for a loop as they realize the hero's party is actually close with Blake. This scene shifts to them all sitting down for a meeting with the trainees on one side, and they look absolutely terrified, sitting stiff as boards across from the two legends. Alice and Etta try to break the ice, telling the trainees not to be so nervous. But the squad is still on edge, feeling the immense pressure of the situation. This hero's personal knights standing behind them are not helping either, looking seriously intimidating. So Blake steps in, calmly stating that it seems Alice recommended them for the job. She confirms it with a huge smile, saying she knows their abilities well and has full confidence in them. This praise totally catches the trainees off guard, and they are just flattered by her words. This white-haired girl realizes that if the hero's party acknowledges Blake, he is no ordinary person. And the orange-haired kid is floored, thinking he completely underestimated how amazing Blake is. They are all in shock, never imagining their old man had connections this powerful. Blake, of course, just sits there looking completely unfazed by the whole thing. But then one of the knights leans over to Alice, wanting to offer a suggestion, and he immediately questions the skill of the other three trainees, calling them out. He says they lack the aura of strong individuals, basically calling them weak rookies, suggesting it would be far better to replace them with more experienced magicians. Blake clenches his fist, knowing the knight is not entirely wrong about their inexperience, which completely crushes the trainees' confidence, making them feel useless. This white-haired girl is not about to take that sitting down though, her expression hardening. And Blake gives a slight smile, seeing the fire ignite in his students. She stands up and respectfully asks that they be allowed to undertake the mission, before the rest of the squad jumps up, shouting that they can do it too. This knight smirks, deciding to test their skills right then and there. So he steps out into the middle of the hall, ready for a 3-on-1 fight.
Please subscribe for more.